as we look at where we are today, with regards to all that is taking place in our culture, economically, politically, socially, we've got a new focus on civil rights again. We've got economic issues with regards to our response to, first of all, the Great Recession of 2008, not to mention, obviously, COVID. We look at the sense of disillusionment with regards to government and where our political parties stand. All the big kind of geopolitical and economic issues are concerning to us and are flashing red lights to us at this moment in time. Why is the rebirthing of the Business Leadership School at this particular time really a salient moment and underscores perhaps the relevancy of the material is more poignant now than it was when you even created it in the 90s?
Reality does not permit vacuums. And there is a vacuum coming out of the last 30, 40 years from the 60s. I always knew we were going to redo the 60s. I did, honestly. I always knew that the fermentation of what was starting then would show up later. We're in a vacuum, and nature abhors a vacuum. That is, a vacuum will get filled with something. The American dream is shattered to a pretty significant level. There is a lot of economic question, and I go back and forth because there's two sides to this. Is the middle class, in fact, shrinking? The price changing of everything right now is interest rates, can no longer be used to moderate the economy in any way. And inflation, the figures that people are getting, the public, are not true. The problem with information in the information age, it means information that was not available except to the elite is now available to everybody, which is the heart of the revolt of the public. Is now they're too well informed to be lied to, but we're still being lied to. And so you have the fragility of the American dream. You have a semi-valid argument, valid as in it is taking place, about socialism and collectivism and the whole localism, centralization phenomena. But something has got to replace faith for the American experiment to continue. And that is why racism is such a boogeyman right now, is because the way that it's being interpreted and the context in which it's being discussed can only lead to fragmentation if there's not a shift in the way it is being discussed. As in, yes, it did it. By the way, are you aware 600,000 guys died? More than all our wars together. I mean, it's not like, Eureka, I've discovered racism. It was very, very well discovered, and a huge war, most damaging war ever. Consequences in the Jim Crow laws. The whole history of the way that is discussed. It is either going to take us in order to form a more perfect union or in order to tear us apart. And the way that discussion is framed is going to do one or the other. And in order to form a more perfect union, from my point of view, requires that Christians have a much, much clearer and more defined sense of value for who we are as salt and light, to go back into the Sermon on the Mount, of the nature of who we are on the earth and society. We are the light of the world. And we have not been the light of the world because we've been a privatized club that has been stuck in the four walls of the church, rejoicing in our own salvation, which, yeah, we should, but virtually unaware of the potential of what we can and should be in culture and society. And I believe the business school directly affects and talks about why productivity, why strategy, why ownership, why wise choices, why team play, all the various things that are the components. I believe the Lord has saved it to now because I believe it's going to spread more rapidly now than it has in the previous 25 years.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't just make the issue money, it makes the issue transformation of human lives and transformation for those participating in the economic world in a real way as a doorway to maturity and a doorway to experiencing life the way God experiences life, which is a much more permanent view than the American dream and much more depth than the American dream, and can and should be a beacon to the rest of the world that is no longer really hungry just for economic success or more things, because we've got more things now than we've ever had in human history. And like Mick Jagger, you know, I still can't get no satisfaction.
Right.
And I believe all of those things I just noted is why the business school has got a very bright future, because it's there to fill a void.
That's right. As we look forward to what the next 25 years might entail, think about, emerging business leaders who will deal with the ramifications of the next 25 years. How do you think this program is going to best prepare them for being in positions where they can problem solve, where they can strategically provide leadership and solutions that will guide us through what potentially could be a real sense of upheaval in the next 25 years?
Oh, I'm sure we're going to have upheaval. I don't think anybody that is looking for post-COVID-19's fury to subside in terms of disruption. We don't know how long and how adaptive this virus is. We don't know. But what it's done is it has put enormous power back in the hands of a very small group of people, of mayors and people who have taken authority over our life in ways that never happened before. I think the skill sets that will emerge from those who go through the school and really go through it in order to, once they see this is about transforming me, this is about transforming my family, this is about transforming the lives of my children and grandchildren by virtue of the values and the principles that we're being exposed to and the opportunity to actually try them out in real-time life. That is going to be a light in a dark room. And again, the dark room is not only a degree of division, but a degree of hopelessness of I may be economically stuck. We see a significant number, if not a majority of people, believe here in the United States that their children or grandchildren will not have the kind of economic power that they had in their lives, their generations. What makes light important is the contrast with darkness. The darker things are, the greater light is. And again, I know what's in that school. And not because God used me to write it, and other people obviously have contributed to the ideas as well. It's got light. It has meaning. It has purpose. It has the promise of maturity and the recognition that maturity has got its own rewards, but it does have the rewards that those who become really productive team players will always be those who garner the greatest amount of material possession to manage, because God himself gets involved when he sees his kids doing things that replicate his life. And I can't say anything more significant about the business school and light in a vacuum and in a darker place than to say the illumination of those who actually begin to live that stuff out is going to be a tremendous shot in the arm to Christianity. And I really believe that.
One of the most salient quotes, I think, from the Business Leadership School comes from your book, Doing Business God's Way, where you make this statement: those who produce both capital and justice will lead the 21st century. Why those two particular attributes in particular are what give us the ability to lead the creation of capital and the creation of justice?
Capital, because capital allows for progress to take place in terms of new ideas and change. Hell is where things never change. I don't know how many people really have thought deeply about what hell is, but hell is stagnation forever with no change. Probably with the ability to increasingly see how bad things are when you're stuck. You're going to be seeing that at greater and greater depths, with the reality that there's no exit, there's no way out of it. That is what hell is. It's being stuck forever. And capital gives us mobility. It gives us mobility in multiple ways, because in it, again, money is time in foldable form. The use of money allows me to do things at a rapid speed and numbers of them, because I have the power of resource to fulfill choice on a broader spectrum. And the countries that experience capital creation and economic health are going to become sorely in demand and have an opportunity to model a system with a variance between the systems that are not modeling in a way that is enormous. And that's why capital needs to increase. As to justice, you can't separate justice from equality, because they're very different ideas. And it's in understanding the difference between them that they really come to life. Equality is everybody getting treated equal before the standards of the law, the rules of the game. Is the rich and the poor are all playing by the same rules and living out the same consequences.
Right.
And when that does not take place, you have the seeds of revolution in one form or another. Whereas justice has nothing to do with equal results and everything to do with differing inputs producing what the return is. Justice is rewarding me or penalizing me for what I invested in a given project, a given person, a given situation. It's an assessment of the investment with its true worth in a market situation. It is the feedback based on the input, which can never be the same, because all of us are different in terms of our engagement. So God is not interested in making sure everybody gets the same result. He's interested in making sure everybody gets the appropriate result based on the value of their investment. Equality is what gives us hope that the game is not rigged, and that is the main event there.
So justice then really is about, or the justice system is about ensuring that there is a proper mechanism in place in society where sowing results in reaping.
Yes, and that in the so-called free market, or the managed market that is free, the system has got to be equal in the sense that everybody has got the same opportunity.
That's right.
Relative to the way the game is managed.
The equal playing field.
It's got to be an equal playing field. And again, the business school, we've tried to say that in many different ways. But I don't want anyone but God evaluating the true value of something. But we live in the real world where different people have different levels of evaluation. That being said, that's why the free market is such an incredibly powerful idea, because what it does is it allows the greatest number of people to be contributors to the determination of value, rather than a few people that are deciding winners and losers.
Right.
And I don't think many people really understand that about the significance of the free market, is that it is taking a large number of people, many of whom have no dogs in the fight, but it is the reflection of what the marketplace of the largest number of people feel something is worth. And that is a different world than a few people depending and designing, winners and losers.